I don't speak about Vaush as often as I used to when I started this stream back in January. Just to give you an idea, um, back in the day, I mentioned Vaush so much that I made this little gem because he would come up a lot. My consumption of his content has gone down over the last few months for a variety of reasons that's difficult to explain in detail. However, I stumbled across a video, and in this 1 hour, 15-minute video, Vaush dropped one of the most base takes I've heard from him, and I think this is one of the few things. Well, actually, no, that sounded dismissive. This is one of the things that you pick up when you have a diverse information diet. This little clip here, it is about 4 minutes long, and let's just listen to the truth bombs that Vaush dropped in his audience on this segment, which was, about leftist optics during protests. But again, this is good for everyone. Let's take a listen.
What makes them look normal is the Proud Boys getting acknowledged on the presidential debate stage by Joe Biden and by Donald Trump because their violence ends up celebrating them and throwing them to the height of media attention.
Yeah, so just to put a bit of context, in this part of this video, he was talking about the Proud Boys versus Antifa and how Proud Boys are much better at getting the type of attention that they want. And he was using the fact that they were brought up during the presidential debates as an example of this. So let's dig into why.
If it weren't for the violence that they brought upon themselves through their actions, the Proud Boys would have been nothing more than a tiny ragtag group of misogynists like white chauvinists. But they didn't, did they? They caused a lot of violence, and they got a lot of attention. And the attention they got ended up getting them the acknowledgement of the most powerful human on earth. That attention is the currency they deal in, but it's not attention we can take advantage of. Proud Boy has a leader. Proud Boy has a leader with a name that gets media attention. Does Antifa have a leader? No. Does our side of the story ever get taught? No. Do anti-fascists have strong, charismatic leaders who the media turns to get their side of the violence that happens at these protests? No.
Just to interrupt though, it's funny, I just came to realize this now. Anti-fascists might not have a strong charismatic leader, but I would argue that the left does. Well, actually, I wouldn't call her a leader. However, yeah, no, my dirty ass couch is my fucking background picture. ContraPoints, I wouldn't call her a leader, but she is charismatic. She is very influential. Many former alt-righters cite her as being one of the first people who dragged her out. And sadly, despite the fact that, yeah, she's not a leader, man, even if you tried to assign her that role, she would staunchly reject it. That's the feeling I get. However, she's very influential and charismatic. And the way that the left has treated, well, the online left, or maybe a vocal minority of the online left, the way they have treated ContraPoints over the years is another way of kind of vindicating what Vaush is saying, even though, the literal thing that he was saying is that Antifa does not have a strong charismatic leader. Let's continue.
Our organizational tactics deny us the ability to effectively play to the news outlets.
Yeah, and one thing that a nuance that's very important, which makes the point that I just made less relevant. Vaush is talking about real organization in the real world, whereas ContraPoints is an online influencer / educator. So yeah, that's good point, Vaush. You got me. All right.
The CEO of Antifa. I'm not saying there needs to be like a leader of Antifa. I'm saying that it doesn't make us look good when there's nobody to speak for us. It allows everybody else to give us our narratives. Black Bloc shows up, they break windows, they get in a fight, and then who controls the media cycle afterwards? The Proud Boys, because they actually talk. They actually make statements to journalists. They get to frame the conversation because they're the only ones speaking. Nobody in Black Bloc is going to. First of all, because they're decentralized, and second of all, because most of Black Bloc are just, let's be real, not media savvy. Enrique Tarrio, that's his name, right? The leader of the Proud Boys, is a media-trained, public speaking, I would almost go so far as to say genius. I think that he's really effective at public speaking. There's a reason why.
Coming from Vaush, that is very high praise. More on that once we finish this segment, because yeah, there was a serendipitous other Vaush clip that I stumbled upon a couple days ago or yesterday, which illustrates how, coming from Vaush, this is very, very high praise. Let's continue.
I would almost go so far as to say genius. I think that he's really effective at public speaking. There's a reason why he leads the Proud Boys. If one of these people gets stopped by a reporter, what do you think the odds are that one random member of Black Bloc is going to be an effective advocate for our side of things in a way which not only defends us morally, but appeals to the general public? The answer is nil. It's never going to happen. And the few times that people in Black Bloc or associated with Black Bloc have talked to the media, it usually doesn't look good, does it? You guys have noticed that, right? I can't remember any specific examples, but I have like generally speaking, when the Black Bloc, any member of it, anyone Antifa-ish, they talk to like journalists, they come off like hardline demagogues. They come off.
Yeah, Vaush knows this, and I'm sure his audience does too, which is why he's not taking the time to specify this. But I just want to remind you, Black Bloc is not an organization. Black Bloc is a tactic that you use during protests where everyone shows up dressed in black, makes them difficult to identify. So when he says when someone gets pulled from Black Bloc or whatever, he means when the media just, you know, grabs some random protester who's dressed in black for comment.
Anyone Antifa-ish, they talk to like journalists, they come off like hardline demagogues. They come off like fanatics, which they shouldn't, because they're not. They're anti-fascists. The Proud Boys are fanatics, but they put effort into appearing as though they're not. When you talk to Enrique, he doesn't sound like a fanatic. I've seen him talk publicly. I saw him on Tim Pool Live, right before I went on Tim Pool Live. That guy does not sound like the leader of the Proud Boys. He sounds like a calm advocate for a set of reasonable positions that most Americans would agree with. He comes off a little bit like chauvinist and like frat boy-y, but that's kind of a part of the appeal. And a lot of Americans like frat boys. So
one could say that Vaush comes off as a frat boy, and that's definitely part of his appeal too. Yeah. The left eat their children. ContraPoints has been canceled twice. Canceled 3 times, Breck. There was a more recent incident on this that happened a couple days ago. So yes, you have the right idea. You are more right than you realize. Let me just finish reading your chat. She did a great segment on cancellation. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, there is a more recent ContraPoints cancellation that we will not get into within this segment. But if you watch live on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, or watch the VOD, I guess, we were probably going to cover that. All right, let's go back to Vaush. There's about a minute left to this segment.
Part of the appeal. And a lot of Americans like frat boys. So he works. It works for him. You understand what I'm saying? I hope you understand my perspective now that I'm trying to frame it a little bit more coherently and not just yelling at chat. That these are all things we have to take into consideration when it comes to effectively advocating for what we believe in. The context of this is going to change depending on whether you're in America or Europe. There's a ton of stuff that goes into this, many complexities. But as a general rule, I will always favor appealing to normies as a general virtue, because if you can't do that, you can't win political favor. It's just, it's not possible to win political favor if you can't appeal to normies, you know? And if you can't win political favor, you lose attendance, you don't get as many people on your side, and it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Have you watched Philosophy Tube's video on Antifa? Yes.
So yeah, that is the clip. It's all about the hearts and minds of the normies. Now, that part, I'm sure most people watching this already knew intuitively, but having Vaush critique how typically bad leftists are at, I'm talking hard online leftists specifically, but to a lesser extent that applies to the left in general, but the way that Vaush critiqued the left on that is valuable to everyone. One of the things that I wanted to mention when Vaush was talking about how appealing to the hearts and minds of normies is dependent on all sorts of different factors involving like which subsector of the normies that you're talking about. Like this is the next clip that I'm going to play is an illustration of how masterful Vaush is at rhetorics. And I can understand how people can take this as a sign that he's not trustworthy. And I think there's value to that. However, with proper intellectual self-defense, I think that it's easy to filter that because the cues that he is using to adapt his language are typically clear to everyone with eyes to see and who's paying attention to this. Now, this other clip that I want to show. Wait, is this from the same stream? No, he's wearing different t-shirts. That would have been funny. But again, this is the YouTube algorithm served this up to me. And this is an example of how Vaush is unconsciously competent at rhetoric. And I just found it really funny. The context of this is this was streamed shortly after Alex Jones was on the Timcast the latest time. And he's talking about how he had an opportunity to be on the Timcast with Alex Jones. I will play this and we'll comment in a sec.
Don't get me wrong. I would be delighted to talk with Alex Jones IRL sometime. I actually had a chance to once, but it was at the height of the COVID pandemic. So one of these days we'll talk to Alex Jones. I'm going to go full on pro-America over there is what I'm going to do. Okay. Yeah, brother. Yeah, I took the Trump vaccine to get rid of the Chinese virus. Goddamn right I did. Don't know what it is with all these traitors that are furthering the destruction of America by letting this bioweapon from Wuhan ravage our cities and our frogs, you know? I'll go full on. I'll do it. Absolutely.
The thing that blows me away about this clip is that I'm pretty sure he's just riffing, and that all these ways of spinning the unfortunately partisan discussion that vaccination is in a way that would kind of fuck with a right-winger's brain. I don't think that this is calculated. I think he's just riffing. Now, it's possible that he's thought about it so much that that's why he's so seamlessly summoning these things up. But that fucking blew my mind. And that illustrates both why I love Vaush and why I have to have my intellectual game up when I watch him, which is part of the joy that I enjoy with him also. I think if we were to summarize this in one sentence is be mindful of how you come off. I think all across the political spectrum, no matter what the conversation is, if you are not aware of how you're coming off, it is needlessly difficult to accomplish your goals. Just to come back to what Vaush was saying initially, I'm sure that there are people like who participate in Black Bloc protests who would be genuinely surprised to see how uncomfortable some random normie would be showing up in the middle of this oh man, that's an unfortunately small picture. There we go. Showing up in the middle of this. Let's open a new tab here. So it might not be the goal, but you know, if Susie Smith with her 2.5 children would be uncomfortable showing up at a protest with these people, I don't think it should be a surprise to anyone. So in short, be mindful of how you come off. I hope I came off well. If you like this video, thank you so much for watching, and click on the card right here to watch the next one. I'll see you soon.